Doc Elder. I'm the host of Sportslook, and while there are no do-overs in the world of sports, there are do-overs in the world of Sportslook. And because we had technical difficulties with last Thursday's episode, we've decided to run that episode in its entirety, and we are going to bring it to you right now. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and just like the classic Japanese movie Rashomon, we're going to have multiple perspectives tonight. We're going to have the perspective of two players from Greyhound Volleyball, Hetzi Carrasco and Michaela Garvin. We're going to have the perspective of a head coach. That's going to be Eric Belcher from Greyhound Women's Soccer. I'll give the perspective of the host of Sportslook with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound Cross Country competed in the Mustang Invitational last weekend. Matthew Guerrero was the top finisher for the Greyhound guys, finished seventh. Maritza Alvarez, the best finisher for the Greyhound ladies, she finished eighth. Greyhound men's soccer, they competed in Colorado this past weekend. They tied one, they lost one. Greyhound women's soccer, they competed last weekend in Nebraska. They won one, they tied one. More on that in a minute. We also had Greyhound volleyball. They went 3-1 in the tournament last weekend. More on them in a minute. And Greyhound football, playing against Sul Ross State, had an 18-point lead at halftime, wound up winning 51-12. Well, that has been your Eastern recap. So what I'll do is I'll clear this out and I'll bring in my first guests, Hetzi Carrasco and Michaela Garvin, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and an honor to bring to the set of Sportslook two members of the Greyhound volleyball squad. We've got Michaela Garvin, we've got Hetzi Carrasco, and ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Michaela, you've been on the show before, but in case people missed the episode last year, please explain to us where you're from and what was the process that got you here to Eastern.
Okay, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and I found out about Eastern because my whole family practically attended and played sports here. Mom, dad, aunts. My aunt actually I'm really proud of her. She just got her, yeah, she's in the Hall of Fame.
The New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
yes.
Everybody went here, and then when it was time for my recruiting to happen, my uncle was out here, and I just felt like home. Took my first steps here, so.
And it makes me feel old because both of your parents were students of mine back in the day, and I'm still here.
No.
But it's okay. I'm dealing with it. Well, Hetzi, let's introduce you to the viewing audience. Where are you from, and what got you here to Eastern?
Yes, so I'm from Amarillo, Texas, and I, out of high school, went to a JUCO in Colorado, Otero College. I love that place. And then got recruited here to play for my last 2 years. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I'll ask you the question. Out of junior college, you probably had other options. What was it that sealed the deal that got you here to Eastern?
Yeah, I really am strong about my faith, and I believe that the Lord directs our steps. And I kind of was just trusting in His timing. I had a few things happen at home with my family and my dad's health. So really the biggest thing was staying closer to home. A lot of the offers that I had were farther out in different states, and I wasn't too fond of that. But whenever Coach Katie and Coach Boyer reached out, it was just kind of perfect timing. And so I was very glad to be able to play closer to home and be around my family more often than I was before.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Michaela, I would imagine that you probably had some D1 offers. You might have had a D2 school that was a little bit bigger. Realistically, was there any chance that you'd go anyplace other than Eastern, or was this always your future option?
I it was up in the air for a minute, but when I was younger, I just felt like, and it was also my grandpa at the time was like, if you're gonna play college sports, it'd be awesome if you played at Eastern because so many people did. And he's like, I'm familiar with it. Your grandma, your mom, they would come to every game. And it just felt like the option. I also prayed about it, and it feels like I'm completing like a family thing, and which is nice.
Well, I didn't ask you this question last year, but I'll ask you the question this year. What is it like to play to have your head coach be a relative?
It's uh, no, it's fine. I mean, when I was a freshman, I was like kind of scared. Like it was weird. But my mom has always been my coach. She was the coach at my middle school. So when I got here, it was different. Just not my mom and Coach Poyer, or as I call him, Uncle Sia. He's like he was like one of my dads growing up. So I mean, it was like anything I did, I don't want to let him down, and that's like the mindset I have going into things. And I think that as I've gotten to this point, I've really grown because I used to be like kind of scared of him because I was so concerned. But now that I'm a senior, like we have these conversations, and I think it's really helped our relationship as well. I really have enjoyed him coaching me, and it's been a really fun experience thus far.
Well, Hetzy, I'll ask you the question because you're not related to the coach. So, what has it been like playing for Sia the last couple of years?
It's been good. I've had a variety of different coaches. I also played soccer, so I've had that, in the mix. So I've had a lot of different coaches. But I think that one thing that I will forever be grateful for is Coach Boyer is just very, very, his compassion for us and his love for us as people carries a big load as to who we are as people and who we are as athletes. I think that's something that I am just so grateful for, and I am indebted to him because I know that he cares, that he loves us, and that's one thing that I will take away. That's probably the biggest thing,
Well,
is
you
how much he
actually
cares.
you
Yeah,
actually answered my next question, which
yeah,
was to be if you had to say one attribute that you really
yeah,
liked about us, well, you've already done that. So,
yeah.
Michaela, I'll ask you if you can disassociate yourself from the familiar context. What do you think Sia's greatest attribute as a coach is?
I'm gonna agree with Hetzi. He cares so much about us. It's even if we weren't related, I would feel like he was family because he constantly is checking in on us, making sure we have what we need. He's always worried about us, concerned. Like we're all his kids, and that's really great because I've been in situations at home in club volleyball and things where it just doesn't really feel like that, and it feels like a family.
I would say he's like the most dad coach
Yeah, he's
I've ever
literally the most
had.
dad coach. Yeah.
He's really he cares about us like a parental figure, and I think
Hmm.
that that's that's the biggest attribute.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should point out that he actually has a daughter that is a student here at Eastern
Yeah,
West
she's a
now. So
freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he can definitely relate to the fact
Right.
that you are young ladies of that age group. Well, Michaela, the season has not had many matches yet. You've played 8 matches, if memory serves me. You played 4 in the tournament last weekend, 4 the previous weekend. Went 1-3 in the first weekend tournament. Went 3-1 last weekend. What's the big difference? Why the sudden turnaround from one tournament to the next?
We're growing together. So we started off the season with a few rough patches just because we had to bring in our middle as a setter, and she's doing a great job. But yeah, we've had to work around different things that are new to us and the coaches, but we are really just keeping a good attitude about it. No matter what, we know we have each other. So I think that's the difference between the first and the second tournament. The first, we were still kind of questioning things. We were like, can we do this? I think second tournament came around and we were like, okay, like we can do this and we know what we're doing. We're playing volleyball. We're here for a reason. We're playing for each other. We're playing for I'm it's really good environment on the court.
And Hetzi, I'll ask you the same question from your perspective. What was the big difference between the first tournament and the second one?
I think two things. One, insecurity. I think that going into it, again, we have a lot of new challenges that came our way, things that we've never experienced even in our entire career, like challenges that are coming that we've had to endure. And then the other thing is just familiarity, getting comfortable with our new roles and the different rotations and lineups, and just we also have transfers that have been playing key roles, and so I think that those are things that we're just having to get used to. I think we're doing well at, and it's only getting better. I think so.
Yes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, Hetzi, last year you were like a Zoe Deschanel TV program. You were the new girl.
Yeah.
Who took you under your wing last year, and who have you tried to mentor this year?
I would say Audrey. Audrey Pooney took me under her wing. I enjoyed playing so much beside her. I think that obviously the girls, just in general, because we're all pretty much older. We're all juniors, seniors. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for them to mentor us and me into it because we're the same age. But I really do. I will forever cherish Audrey. She did an amazing job. And we only have a few freshmen, two freshmen.
Two freshmen.
Yeah. So I think that just trying to do my best to be there for them, give them any advice they might need. So really just them. Mhm.
Well, speaking of tournaments, you don't have to go on the road for a tournament. You actually get to host a tournament, and that has
Yeah.
to be amazingly exciting.
It is extremely exciting because I cannot remember the last time that we have hosted a tournament here. Not since I've been here.
Never.
No, yeah. And it's out of all of them, it's the LSC challenge, and that's I think that has to do with how well we did in it last year.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting.
Well, Hetzi, I'll put you on the spot and I'll say if people have come out to the Greyhound Arena, and the good news is they're not charging for this tournament, so it's free admission all weekend long. What's the one takeaway? If people come out to watch one of your 5 matches, what do you hope fans will think about the team this year?
I hope that they can feel the energy between us, and I think how we are actually united and wanting to just play together as a team. I know that Coach Bell came in as well, our strength coach, and really solidified us and really challenged us to think about whether we were actually a team or not. And he really challenged us to be selfless on the court, off the court. I mean, that's grown us a lot as a team. And so I hope that people can see that bond that is grown and feel the energy on the court and translating off into those people.
Well, ladies, we've got about a minute left in this segment. It's amazing how fast time flies. But you are student athletes. And so, Michaela, what are you majoring in and what are your future plans?
I'm majoring in communications, and I'm hoping to work for the NFL. I don't know if I want to do sideline reporting or social media. I'm even kind of interested in photography. But I actually have a sports podcast here with another player on our team, Kinsey. And it's just been really fun just working with pro sports, like doing research on that and then putting it together. I just really excited to see where this takes me.
And Hetzi will ask you the same question.
Yeah, so I'm majoring in psychology, and I plan on entering a master's program, probably into the counseling field, but I'm still working out the last bit of the details into what I'm going to be doing for the next few years.
Okay, and we've got about 30 seconds. So the favorite class you've had at Eastern so far?
Oh.
They're all
So
good,
many,
right?
yeah. Put me on the spot. I enjoyed cognitive psych.
Very good.
Yeah.
And Michaela, I'll put you on the spot.
The broadcast class where I learned how to use the camera and got hands-on, got to read the teleprompter. That was really fun. I was really excited to go to class every day.
See, I was hoping you were going to say History 1110.
History
because you took
1110
that
was
from
my
me.
favorite. Don't get me wrong, it was my favorite. I wrote some fire papers in there.
You did. You were top notch. Well, ladies, thanks so much for being our guest, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that will wrap up our first interview segment. So we'll clear the set and we'll bring in our second guest, Eric Belcher, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we welcome back to the set of Sportslook the head coach of Greyhound women's soccer, Eric Belcher. And Coach, welcome back to Sportslook.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be back on and get to chat with you.
Well, Coach, you are in your second year. Does it still feel kind of like there's the new car smell, or is it just have you settled into a complete routine?
Yeah, obviously, second year. We have a ton of new kids, so it still does feel new. We brought in 20 kids, 10 transfers, and 9 freshmen. So it still does feel new. We're still learning, but definitely a better situation than we were when we just started because obviously I had a year to kind of get my bearings straight in Portales and kind of figure out where we want to go and what we want to do. Um, but definitely a new car smell with a car that's a year old.
Well, Coach, from what I understand, you actually have an assistant coach this year.
Yes, yes. We just hired her a couple days ago. She just got in town this weekend. It was very tough to get paperwork done when you're on the road. But we got a good staff here that works in HR, and then obviously our secretary. She handled everything pretty quickly, and now we're rolling, and we got more hands on deck to kind of help us get to where we need to be.
So, who is your new assistant?
Her name is Anna Ramos. She comes to us from a D3 school in Texas that she's been at for a little bit, and now she's got the chance to be at the D2 level, where obviously the rules are a little bit different, things are a little bit bigger, and we're just excited to kind of to see where she's going to take us and what she can do with her experience that she has.
And we will point out, in case people don't know how the NCAA does things, Division III, you cannot give any financial aid solely on the basis of athletic skill. If they're a good athlete,
Correct,
great, but it
correct.
has to be academic or need based. Division II, you get
You can
to,
do that,
yeah.
correct, correct. That's one thing. We're very excited for her. We actually just spent the afternoon looking at recruits, going over films and things like that, and that's one of the things where hey, we don't really have to rely on that person making the grade to get the finances. We can actually, if they're at that level, we can provide. And obviously the financial part from the school is very exciting and helpful, but that's not our sole thing that we're relying on. And it's going to be fun for her once she gets her test passed. She can actually do what she was doing there, just at a bigger level, which is going to be good.
What is it, if you had to say there's one attribute that an assistant coach has to bring to the table for you, what's the one thing that has to be there?
My big thing is just them making me better. My previous school, I had an assistant, and that person allowed me to be a better coach. Whether it was them setting the cones up that day, or making sure everybody ate that day, or whatever it may be, they allowed me just to focus on the things that I think I need to focus on in the moment that could help the team as a whole. So for her, she brings a lot of experience in things that are gonna not bog me down. Um, and that'll allow me to just be better with the team. So we're looking forward to that. Today's her first day of practice, so she's going to kind of meander around and get to know folks and kind of see how I operate. And then, with her experience and her time being a coach, I'm sure she's going to work in pretty quick to get me to where I need to be.
Well, Coach, in addition to being the host of Sportslook, I get to be a history professor. So I'm going to look at a little history, specifically last year. I think I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What was the high point of the season for you last year?
Um, that's tough. That's tough. There was a few for me, but I think the biggest one that we all kind of turned to was our last game of the season when we played Tyler, and the senior goes in and gets the game winner, and we knocked him out of playoff contentions. So that's probably the one that sticks out to me. But if I sit and think about it, I would say the first win, first game of the season. You get your first win, and it's on the road, up in Colorado. Senior scores a goal, like that one also sticks out. But I would say the one that knocked the team out of playoffs is a good one. Um, yes, I think yeah, right.
And I'm smiling because I actually had the privilege of doing that
Yeah,
UT
yeah.
Tyler game for the Lone Star Conference Network. So, looking back at last year's squad, looking at this year's squad, what are the similarities? What's going to be different about this year's squad when people get to see it?
I think our fight has gotten a little bit tougher this year because we have more depth. So kids can actually go 110 miles an hour and then get a little bit of water. Whereas last year it's like, hey, we don't really have a lot of folks. You got to play conservative. So we're looking forward to getting 100% of everyone because they can give that. And I also think we've brung in uh, a lot of kids who are athletic. So that's going to give us a little bit more depth in terms of just doing the running that this conference, demands day in and day out. So we're really looking forward to that. And coming up to now, that's been one of our strong suits is that we're athletic enough to stay in games. So as we progress, we're going to see how far that takes us. And then those that have the talent, that have the skill, will obviously take over as we get further into the season.
Looking at the squad, you pointed out that you have quite a few new faces. Who's returning for you?
So we have 14 returners. I wish I could name them all, but there's so many names in my head.
We'd run out of time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we're excited for our seniors. We've got 9 of them. Obviously, Kenzie Mitchell, that's one that's been the captain. That sticks out the most. Samantha Jeffries, obviously the goalkeeper. It's another one that kind of sticks out. Um,
She was Lone Star Conference
of
goalkeeper
the,
of
of
the
the week,
week.
yeah, last
Yeah.
week. So those two are kind of the seniors that are leading the line. And then we had one step up this weekend. Sydney Saxon went for 2 goals and an assist, brought us back to life. One of my tweets, I said, that girl decided to put the team on her back and didn't tell anybody, just went and did it. I think 30 minutes, had a brilliant game, set some school records. So we are pretty excited for what we got in terms of our seniors. But from time, it's going to be Samantha Jeffries and Kenzie Mitchell. Another big one that doesn't get much talk is Haley Huff. She's come on big this season. I think she has 2 or 3 assists already, a couple goals. Like she's playing out of her mind, and that's something that excites the whole team to see her go from where she was to where she is in just a matter of a year. So don't want to give away too many secrets, but we've got a few that are doing very well.
You talked about the fact that you have a new dedicated assistant coach, but there's also a new person in the system, Corey Bell, and what a difference that
Yes,
guy's made.
yes. He's actually been our biggest strength. I tell folks, when I got here last year, I wouldn't say weight training wasn't a priority, but now for us, it's something that like we can't wait to do. Me and Corey are very close. We talk about who needs what and when we can do this and what's going to be best for us. But I would say if you look at us from last fall to the end of last spring, you will see a big change in those that have gotten stronger and just our commitment and dedication to being great. And I think that starts obviously with me, and then it kind of trickles down to Corey, and then it kind of trickles down to our training staff, and then by the end of the day, greatness is what we expect every day. And our big thing that came from that strength coach is when we played the D1s last semester, they didn't push us around. Those are some things that we're looking to get the rest of the team onto. Once the season's done and we get a little rest, we can get back to that.
Looking at the season so far, what would you say is the strength? What are you most pleased with so far? What's the
Uh,
one thing that has to improve?
Yeah, so right now we played 5 games. We're 1-1-3. So at the end of the day, we have our first 5 out of 6 are on the road, which I'll take blame for that. That's tough, but it builds character, which is what we love. Things that I do that I'm loving at the moment is just our work rate. We're playing 90 minutes. We're not playing 30. We're not playing 45. We're playing a full 90 minutes. And I would say our last game is a testament to that. We go down 1-0, we fight back, we tie it 1-1. Then we go down 2-1, we fight back, we tie it 2-2. Then the next goal comes from us, right? So our fight is there. We're playing 90 minutes. That's something that's tough to get from a large group, and I think we have it in everyone. So that excites me. Things that we're struggling with, I will say, is obviously all getting on the same page. In our sport, we put 11 on the field, and if you're changing that, you're adding a whole different 11 each time. It's hard to just get that connection. We're getting there. I think it's going to take us a few more weeks, but that's probably the thing that's hurting us the most is you've got 20 new and 14 old, and you're trying to get everybody on the same page as me when I'm new. So, but hopefully in the next couple weeks it lands where it needs to be, and we get out of it what we need out of it.
I would imagine that your seniors are your team leaders, but if there's kind of an unexpected lady that's really stepped up and has really become either vocally or just by example, who have you been most pleased with that you didn't expect?
Um, I think that's a tough one for us. Our culture is everyone's a leader, right? One of the big things that I've brought with me is even when you're out, you're in. So no matter when the game is going, no matter what point it is, we always kind of have leaders. We sit at 34 players right now, so 11 are playing. There's 20 on the bench that are still leading. Um, I, I would say for me, I don't think there's an individual because there's so many. I don't really get just one ear that much. I mean, obviously our captains Kenzie and Sierra are two that are the voice and they do lead, but I think everyone is kind of in there. Jeff is one that leads. Sofia Trejo, she's one that leads as well, and then um, our sophomore Caroline Jensen, she's a real strong personality. She leads, but I would say if you came to a game and you're sitting on the bench, it's everyone, freshman all the way up to the grad student. So I don't think we really have a. I couldn't pick out a person minus the two that are there.
That's a good problem to have.
Yes, yes.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the success that you've had so far, and let's hope that there are more dramatic wins that we can see before the end of the season.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing the community out and trying to get to where we need to be.
Well, that is going to wrap up our second interview segment, so we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Last Monday was the 22nd anniversary of the national tragedy that is referred to as 9/11. And even though Portales, New Mexico and Eastern New Mexico University may seem rather far away from the events that took place that day, Eastern New Mexico University did have a connection to that national disaster. A major by the name of Ron Milam was one of the fatalities at the Pentagon that day. Ron Milam got his commission in the U.S. Army through the ROTC program here at Eastern, and Ron Milam was a basketball player at Eastern. 22 years after the fact, we decided to honor Ron Milam. We had a really nice ceremony at the university. My good friend Oscar Robinson arranged for a lot of dignitaries to be there. And the ENMU Foundation has donated $25,000 to a Ron Milam scholarship. So that is a fitting way to honor a brave soldier who died in the line of duty and had a connection to Eastern New Mexico University. Well, that will wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sportslook. I'd like to thank my guests, Hetzi Carrasco and Michaela Garvin from volleyball. I'd like to thank Eric Belcher, the head coach of Greyhound Women's Soccer, had a floor crew once again directed by Ms. Ashley. So for all of those aforementioned people, this is Doc Hilder saying, so long.